Good morning, Saints. Hope you're feeling blessed on this wonderful Wednesday morning. Brandon and I have quite the inaugural episode lined up for you. In a few of these headlines we're going to go over, we're going to be talking about the insane surge in missionary success has caused dozens of new missions to be opened up, and we've got some creative and fun ways on how you can participate in the gathering of Israel as well. And in our featured story, we're going to be going over just how inspired the word of wisdom actually is in light of a new grassroots movement allegedly advocating for food ingredient transparency. Allegedly. And I've got quite a hot take for you that you are probably going to disagree with, but I think it's important enough that we need to talk about it. My name is Jackson Wayne, and welcome to Latter Daily Saints. Alrighty, so to start off on this first episode, Brandon, I want to talk about why we're doing this and what people can expect, if that's fine.
Go for it.
Flashback to probably about a year ago. I am in the desert, boots on my feet, rifle across my chest, and a heavy pack on my back and pain all over my body. That's me and my boys. We're on a movement in the Marine Corps, and while I'm walking, I'm just thinking about a lot of these news and pop culture shows that I watch regularly, and the thought came to me that there just isn't a daily show made by Latter-day Saints for Latter-day Saints talking about new and important news and media. And I just kind of let that thought sit for a while, and then months later, I open up X and I see LDX. That's what people call the LDS X sphere. And I see Cabot Phillips. Brandon, do you know who Cabot Phillips is?
I have no idea.
Okay, so Cabot Phillips is the chief editor, executive editor, producer behind the Daily Wire. And I saw that everyone was going crazy over a text that a tweet that he tweeted.
Oh, I saw this. Okay, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, the first one he says, before founding Mormonism, Joseph Smith ran a scam business using a magical seer stone, which he said directed him to bury treasure on people's property. In 1826, he was put on trial for ripping so many people off. Not true. In 1827, he has happened to dig up the golden plates that became the Book of Mormon. Totally not shady. And then underneath, obviously, members went in and presented actual facts to him. And when the actual facts were presented to him, he then doubles down by saying, I have compassion for many Mormons I have known and even lived with over the years. There is much about their lifestyle and that I respect, but I love them enough to desire that they turn from false teaching, repent, and embrace the truth of Scripture.
Cancel Daily Wire Plus.
Not necessarily, but I saw this and I'm like, the Daily Wire, not the Daily Wire. They're supposed to be the alternative media source that I can go to as a Christian to feel like I'm not being propagandized to some woke ideologies, right? And then I see, behind the scenes, it is made by people that essentially think I'm going to burn in hell, which is unfortunate because I didn't think that. And then later on, when the Michigan shooting happened and the next day, Turning Point USA, which I love Turning Point, and I think they do a great job. They have, as a host, Mark Driscoll on, who, if any of you know who Mark Driscoll is, he tweets about once a month how Mormons are demonic, right? And not to say that Turning Point USA supports that, but it's just like I want to create a place that people that are LDS can come to and know that the show isn't ultimately being made by people that hate you. If I could sum it up.
Amen. Yeah. Every morning you're going to get a warm cup of Handsome Jack.
And one thing that we definitely don't want to do is just be another megaphone of all the gloom and doom that's happening in the world, because there's actually a lot of good stuff happening. And in our first headline that we're going to cover today, it comes from actually the church newsroom website, and it's the announcement of an additional 55 new missions opening up in 2026.
That's crazy.
It is insane. And then you scroll down here and you see that little infographic with some epic stats. Missionaries are serving in more than 150 countries, totaling 506 total missions, and then a record number of missionaries serving of 84,000 young men and women out there preaching the gospel.
I swear the last stat I heard, it was 60,000 a couple years ago. So that's wild.
I know.
24,000 more missionaries.
And it's pretty crazy because I feel like the surge in Christianity globally is happening more and more amidst just such blatant evil, in my opinion. And it's really a beautiful thing. And a couple of things I want to highlight with this is there are some awesome ways that we can participate in the gathering of Israel. I don't know if any of you have heard of, and Brandon, I don't know if you've heard about this, but Jonah Barnes's organization that he's doing called Gathering Israel.
I have heard of it. It is awesome.
It is epic. So basically the idea, and I don't know if you just want to search up gatheringisrael.org, but basically the idea that they've been executing is they found that purchasing ad space in countries that it's very, very cheap to do has brought a lot of success in preaching the gospel and getting people interested in wanting to know more about the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And so what they've been doing in countries like the Philippines, Nigeria, a lot of African countries, is they've been purchasing Facebook ads about the church, say, hey, if you want to get a free copy of the Book of Mormon, if you want to meet the missionaries, learn more about Jesus Christ, go ahead, fill out your information here. And what it has led to is the very first recorded baptism in the nation of Guinea-Bissau, which is very Muslim dominated. Yeah. And if you're wondering why I pronounce that so perfectly, it's because I speak Portuguese, right? Guinea-Bissau. So it's an awesome 501c3 that if you want to see direct results of any donation you make, they post some incredible missionary stories that are happening every single day. But after listening to this story, Brandon, of what Jonah's doing, I wanted to figure out a way that I could like directly participate and still like actively teaching people the gospel.
Yeah.
And at the same time, I was preparing to take the Department of Defense language proficiency test in Portuguese. And
that's pretty epic.
Yeah, dude, it's really
weird flex, but
it's
okay.
like 6 hours long of you listening to radio transmissions in Portuguese, and then it's like, based on what the advertisement said, what can you infer about what the product doesn't do? And it was like it was pretty hard. But in preparation for that, I downloaded this language learning app called Tandem, and basically it connects you with people that are in the country of origin that you're trying to learn that language, right? And so I was trying to practice my Portuguese better, and so I selected I want to learn Portuguese, and then it connected me with a bunch of people from Angola, from Brazil, from Portugal. And one thing I did is you put in your bio like what topics of conversation that you would like to talk to people about. And I just put, I want to talk to people about the gospel of Jesus Christ. And then a lot of people started reaching out. And now I have like 15 missionary discussions going on where we're just like sending voice recordings back and forth talking about the restored gospel of Jesus Christ.
Dude, the mission continues after you get home.
Exactly, if you want it to. And it's been a really good experience for me. And so I suggest anyone that has served abroad and knows another language, I would highly recommend downloading this app, putting in your bio that you want to talk about Jesus, and just watch the amazing conversations that you've had, that you are going to have. And I'll keep you updated with, I have a couple good conversations going and people interested in meeting up with missionaries. So we'll give an update down the road.
We'll put a link in the description for that app.
Yes. But it's just crazy to see. Depending on the lens you look through, there's so many people that are saying, oh, the church is shrinking. Oh, the LDS church is struggling to keep members. And it's all just false propaganda that is in an effort to make you doubt your own faith and act like you're better off if you just do the same as everyone else is doing, which is leave the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, which the opposite is happening. And that is why 55 new missions are opening up in the next year. Pretty crazy. Moving on to our featured story here, Brandon. Initially, when I saw this, I was like, oh, heck yeah, that is awesome. If you want to pull up that Fox News link, I saw this news story, and the title of it is "What's Really in Your Food? New Campaign Pushes for National Ingredient Transparency." I'm like, that sounds like a good idea, so we can actually know what's being put into our food. It says a new conservative group working to untangle state laws concerning food and personal care ingredients by setting a national standard for ingredient transparency officially launched Tuesday, Fox News Digital learned. And then it talks about the name of this organization, Brandon, is called Americans for Ingredient Transparency.
That's not on the nose at all.
Doesn't that sound like, yeah, I'm an American.
Awesome.
I want to be a part of that.
Good marketing.
Exactly. And so then I looked into this. I just did a Google search. And if you want to do a Google search here, Brandon, just type in Americans for Ingredient Transparency. The AI overview, I don't know if it's the same on yours, but if you scroll down, I'm like, okay, so who's this being backed by? And if you look at backers and members, does yours show that right there?
Mine says industry backing. Do you want me to read it?
Yeah. What does it say?
The coalition is supported by numerous major food and beverage companies as well as industry associations. Mm-hmm. What does yours say?
It says backers and members. The coalition includes major food and beverage companies like Coca-Cola, General Mills, Hormel Foods, Kraft Heinz, Nestle, PepsiCo, and Tyson Food, and dozens of others.
Okay.
And so precisely the people that are making all the money off of you being addicted to these things that they put in food, and it's no secret that these harmful dyes and all these other corn syrups and ingredients that they're putting in are causing a lot of chronic disease in America, and that's not a disputed fact, you know?
Right.
And so I'm like, we have the Americans for Ingredient Transparency, but it's just backed by all the people that are making money off of this food that everyone else is addicted to.
Some secret combinations going on here.
What's the real motive here? And then I saw some tweets on X, some X's. What do you call that? Some tweets on X.
Well, they call it posts officially, but that's lame.
Okay.
That's super lame.
So I saw some posts on X of other people being concerned about this and noticing that, hey, this grassroots looking thing, Americans for Ingredient Transparency, is actually backed by all the corporations that profit off of people being extremely addicted to these foods. And I saw this article here, if you want to open up the children'shealthdefense.org article. It was pretty shocking. So the title of this article is "Big Food's Transparency Push is Deceptive Bid to Strip States of Power, Weaken Food Safety Laws, Critics Say." So if you scroll down a little bit, Brandon, there's a paragraph that starts off saying newly passed state legislation. And it says newly passed state legislation includes a West Virginia law banning artificial dyes and other chemical food additives, a California law that removes ultra-processed foods from school lunches. There we go, California doing something good. And a Texas law requiring warning labels on food ingredients banned in other countries. That's a good idea.
Yes.
If you grab a Twinkie and you say, this contains X amount of things that are banned in other countries, that would deter people from buying it, I would hope. And then Louisiana passed a similar law. And so what's happening here is these individual states are wanting to make the food in their state healthier. And so what they're doing is they're passing laws that ban these harmful chemicals that are being added in to your food. And what this coalition is trying to lobby for is to basically make a national standard for labeling ingredients and things that are allowed in ingredients to further deepen the bureaucracy that is needed to get these harmful things banned, right? Because if we're doing it on a state level, then there is obviously a lot of bureaucracy involved in a process to do that, but it's a lot less than when you're taking it on a national level, right? And so what happens, let's say if California bans X additive into Pop-Tarts or whatever, and it's not banned anywhere else, then that means that Pop-Tarts, whoever owns Pop-Tarts, I don't know.
Dude, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Who owns Pop-Tarts? Does anyone eat them anymore?
Yeah, so then the company that owns Pop-Tarts, they have to make a whole new separate line of Pop-Tarts to be in what's the word?
In
agreement.
compliance.
Yeah, in compliance with California state law. So it costs the corporation a ton of extra money because they're having to make a whole separate line of products just for that one
just
state.
in California that they would have to make that new line, but all the other states that don't have that ban on it, the corporation doesn't have to make new Pop-Tarts there, right?
Exactly, just free reign.
Okay.
But if this starts happening in more and more states, which is looking like it does, because West Virginia, Texas, and Louisiana are starting to pass these laws, then that's
billions of dollars.
It's going to hurt the profits of the people that benefit off of you being addicted to these harmful chemicals in your food.
Wow.
Now, thinking about this, zooming out, the word of wisdom, right? We think of the word of wisdom as something to primarily keep our bodies healthy, which, yes, if you follow the word of wisdom, you will run and not be weary and walk and not faint. But it's interesting the reasoning that is given for the word of wisdom. It's actually so inspired in the light of stories like this. Now, in Doctrine and Covenants 89, verse 4, it gives the reason why the word of wisdom is being given. It says, "Behold, verily, thus saith the Lord unto you, in consequence of evils and designs which do and will exist in the hearts of conspiring men in the last days, I have warned you and forewarned you by giving unto you this word of wisdom by revelation." It doesn't say, because we are concerned for the health of the saints. Obviously, that's something. But the very first thing that it's saying is that because of the evils and designs which do exist in the last days in the hearts of conspiring men. That's pretty wild.
Wow.
And then you look at what's happening here. These people benefit so much off of us being addicted to these foods and then getting chronic diseases to be then dependent on the healthcare system. And it's just, at the end of the day, they want to make money off of you. And so whatever they can do to make money off of you, they are going to do that. Sounds like some evils and designs in conspiring men. But what's even more on the nose for specifically what's happening here is in verse 11 in DNC 89. Well, I'll start in verse 10. It says, "And again, verily I say unto you, all wholesome herbs God hath ordained for the constitution, nature, and use of man, every herb in the season thereof, and every fruit in the season thereof, all these to be used with prudence and thanksgiving." Okay, rewind the clock back to 1830s. Did you really have a choice to eat things out of its season? No, like it would go bad. There wasn't really great ways of preserving food or even like freezing it and stuff like that.
And everyone was fit.
Yeah, like Brandon's saying, if you look back, there was very few morbidly obese people. People were healthy generally. And so when we read this verse, every herb in the season thereof and every fruit in the season thereof, people were probably like, yeah, duh. I mean, we can't keep these strawberries longer than, they're going to stay good after we pick them, or that we can't keep XYZ food good because it will go bad. But now with the advent of preservatives, ultra processed food, you can have whatever type of food you want whenever you want because it's chock full of all these chemicals that will keep the food good, keep the food from going bad so that you can have it whenever you please. And what it's turned into is we are being overly fed and undernourished as a society. And it's resulting in a weakening of our ability personally. Now, I've never gotten extremely overweight, but before I went on this last deployment, I was over 230 pounds. I hadn't gone to the gym in like a year and a half, and I hadn't gone for a run in like a very long time, and I was just like feeling not good. And it subsequently made it a lot harder for me to be spiritually in tuned. And I can't quite explain it, but then once we went out on deployment and I got in a good routine of going to the gym every day, going for a run, taking care of my body, eating good foods, I suddenly just felt more energized and a greater disposition to seek out God. I can't explain it, but it was just easier for me to get into a routine of reading the scriptures, being more spiritually minded, because I was taking care of my body. And I think it's so important that we wake up to these things that are happening of people just wanting to make money off of us when we get addicted to food. One of the things, Brandon, that I love that Russell M. Nelson said, I can't remember exactly the talk, but we can look it up after this, but he talked about the harms of different addictions, and he talked about food addiction. And that was the first time over the pulpit. I don't know. Have you ever heard that before?
I don't remember this one. Was it while he was the prophet?
Yes, it was while he was the prophet.
That's kind of embarrassing for me.
Yeah, it was in his famous talk, not food addiction, think celestial.
Oh,
yeah. He says, as you think celestial, you will find yourself avoiding anything that robs you of your agency, any addiction, be it gaming, gambling, debt, drugs, alcohol, anger, pornography, sex, or even food offends God. Why? Because your obsession becomes your God. You look to it rather than to him for solace. If you struggle with an addiction, seek the spiritual and professional help you need. Please do not let an obsession rob you of your freedom to follow God's fabulous plan.
He just roasted comfort food. I've never heard that before.
Yeah. It's insane. And so I don't mean this to be this crazy lecture, oh, you got to be like me. It's like, no. This is an example of this Americans for Ingredient Transparency, this fake grassroots organization with a real effort to just make it harder for people to ban harmful substances. We need to look at what the word of wisdom is saying and understand that it goes a lot deeper than just eating healthy foods. It's to avoid the pitfalls of evil, conspiring men in these last days.
Before you close this segment, yes. I think me and the audience want to know, do you have any practical recommendations, maybe you do personally or that you've heard someone else does, that can help people follow this word of wisdom revival that you're talking about right now?
That's why you're here, Brando. That's a good question. Yes, so my buddy mentioned this application, this iPhone app to me. It's called Yuka, Y-U-K-A, and it's this little carrot guy. But basically what it is you can scan any type of food.
Dave's mini fridge is right next to you.
Hand me those Belvita things right there. All right. So you take this Belvita, right? So crunchy cinnamon brown sugar.
They are not sponsoring this episode, by the way.
They're not. And they won't after I show you what it says. So then it gives you a score out of 100. And this one says 21 out of 100. And it rakes it as bad. Why?
That's crazy.
You click on the additives. It has 7 non-natural additives. One of them is disodium diphosphate. Don't you know about the disodium diphosphate tree that grows so natural?
Yeah, totally. But explain to me what it is.
Yeah, so it's a texturizing agent, and this additive contains phosphorus, a mineral whose current intake exceeds recommendations and whose excess could disrupt bone mineralization, have a harmful effect on kidneys, and increase the risk of cardiovascular diseases.
Dude.
Additionally, it could be associated with an increased risk of breast cancer.
How have I never heard of this app? So that's crazy. You got all that from the carrot guy?
Exactly. App? So here's what I don't want to happen. Obviously, it's tough because a lot of our food is poison nowadays. What route I've kind of gone down is after I've scanned all these things that I usually just pull off the shelf without thinking twice, is I've changed my diet to eat mostly meat and fruit. And yeah, you still have genetically modified organisms in fruit nowadays and stuff like that. And one day I'd love to have my own garden so I know where my fruit and stuff is coming from.
You're trying to stay as natural as possible. Are you trying to kind of mirror the 1830s diet lifestyle a little
call
bit?
it the J. Smith diet. Okay. No, I'm just saying, like, after I scan that and I see 7 harmful additives, I'm like, okay, I don't want to eat that. And so I've just made an effort to eat things that don't make me feel like garbage and that I have better energy. That's basically. So do with that what you will. For me personally, it's been a positive outcome, changing my diet to things that make me happy instead of make me feel lethargic and sad. Does that answer your question, Brandon?
That does. And once again, we'll put the link to that app in the description. That is such a fire app. I'm excited to try it out.
Yeah, a lot of non-sponsored shout outs today, but it's good stuff. All right, moving on. I wanted to add a segment in which we can all together get scripturally based. And where we're going to be doing that today is in Doctrine and Covenants, section 45. And I'll probably be talking about this in the coming weeks, but I had an opportunity recently to go over to Jerusalem. And as we know, there's a very complicated situation that goes back hundreds of years, thousands of years, that is playing out right now over there. And there's a lot to be said about it, and I will cover it more in depth. But one of the things that I was doing while I was over there is I was just reading verses about the last days before Jesus comes. Because over there, when you're seeing a lot of these wars and rumors of wars and these bad things happening, it led me to read about the end of times. And I read a verse that actually, instead of making me feel like stressed out and doom and gloom, it made me feel just immense peace. And I'm like, this is epic. So I want to share this with you. It's in Doctrine and Covenants, section 45, starting in verse 46. It says, "And wherefore, if ye have slept in peace, blessed are you. For as you now behold me, and know that I am, even so shall ye come unto me, and your souls shall live, and your redemption shall be perfected, and the saints shall come forth from the four quarters of the earth. Then shall the arm of the Lord fall upon the nations, and then shall the Lord set his foot upon this mount, and it shall cleave in twain, and the earth shall tremble and reel to and fro, and the heavens also shall shake. And the Lord shall utter his voice, and all the ends of the earth shall hear it, and the nations of the earth shall mourn, and they that have laughed shall see their folly. And the calamity shall cover the mocker, and the scorner shall be consumed, and they that have watched for iniquity shall be hewn down and cast into the fire. And then shall the Jews look upon me and say, What are these wounds in thine hands and in thy feet? And then shall they know that I am the Lord. For I will say unto them, These wounds are the wounds with which I was wounded in the house of my friends. I am he who is lifted up. I am Jesus that was crucified. I am the Son of God."
Wow.
Powerful, powerful verses there. And what I felt when I was reading it is maybe I'm just hyper aware of all the criticism coming at us as Latter-day Saints in the last little bit with some events that have happened. But it's hard a lot of times when people are just reaming on us all the time in social media and stuff to not get discouraged. And at the end of the day, if we stay faithful to Jesus Christ, when he comes, everyone that mocks Jesus Christ, every knee will bow and every tongue will confess that he is the Savior of the world. And it doesn't mean we need to sit on our high horses, and anyone that doesn't believe or disagree, then we just, brush off or act all pompous around. But that we need not be discouraged in well-doing, because we are laying the foundation for a great work. Another great DNC verse. And so with that, I hope that gives you joy and happiness and looking forward to the last days when Jesus comes, because for those that look forward with faith in Jesus Christ, it will be great. It will be a great day. All right, to close this inaugural episode of Latter-day Saints, I've got a hot take that I am interested to see your reaction, Brandon, but I also want to see what you guys think in the comments. And this hot take, I've had it for a while, but I was reminded of it when I was watching a girls' camp, when I was watching a reel the other day on Instagram. Brandon, do you have that pulled up?
I do.
All right, let's let it rip.
It has come to my attention that Mormon missionaries are allowed to communicate throughout the week, but only by using emojis. Basically, it is a loophole if someone sends a message. In most missions, they say you are allowed to react to that message. You know how you like push down on a message and then those emojis pop up? That's probably how it started, but missionaries got clever and they realized, well, we're allowed to react. So they started basically like attempting to correspond, but just through emojis. Someone was showing me a back and forth they had with a missionary where they told this missionary something, and then the missionary responded with like the exclamation point question mark emoji. And then the person expounded further, and then they can respond with like a sad face or a happy face or what have you. I just think loopholes generally are hilarious, but this one is particularly funny because I love imagining a missionary like trying to convey a message to like their mom at home, but it's not P-Day, so they're just using a string of emojis. Someone also told me they needed to give their mom their address because they needed something sent to them, but it wasn't P-Day, so they couldn't send their address. So they went back through all of their messages and responded to each message with a like number or letter of their address. So then the mom could piece together the address and send them the package. They didn't break the rules.
That is hilarious.
Okay.
That's super relatable for me, honestly.
Yes, so I'm curious because my experience was for the first year of my mission, I had a Nokia brick phone and I had an hour every P-Day to write emails home. And then at the year mark, we got smartphones. And then at the same time, the announcement came that missionaries can call home every P-Day, which was a huge shift from the first half of my mission.
That was while you were on your mission?
Yes.
Okay.
So I think that was at the beginning of 2019.
February 2019 is when that announcement.
Were you out on your mission?
No, it was 6 months before I went out on my mission, so I was like,
yeah. So what was your reaction?
I mean, honestly, from what I had seen, like my uncles and aunts calling on Christmas and Mother's Day, it seemed like such a short time to be able to talk with your family. So I was personally excited. I didn't really think too deeply about it until I got on the mission. And then I realized that it might be a little too much. I know for some missionaries that it was really good for their mental health to stay out and to be able to talk to their parents on those days. But I don't know. That was my initial reaction when it came out, was just yes.
Yeah.
I get to talk to my parents more often. It's going to keep me grounded.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and I'll be honest, my initial reaction was really shocked, and also like I was like, "Oh my, I'm so excited." And then I started thinking about it. I'm like, "Ugh, I don't want this to become like something that distracts
or makes you more homesick.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
And so basically how I approached it, I have a lot of thoughts about this, but basically how I approached it at the time is I told my family, look, I think we should try this out, but I want our conversations to be geared toward things that are happening out here in the mission field. And I would love if we could get together and say a family prayer every week, and I can share maybe something that has stuck out to me in my studies. And so then approaching it that way, it helped a ton to stay focused on the work during then, not just like saying like, oh, what are you guys doing at home? It's like, oh, you guys are in Lake Powell next week? Oh, I miss Lake Powell. And then just like hearing about all the stuff happening at home. And I'll be honest, during a lot of the hard times in the mission where I was either struggling with a companion or we were struggling to find people to teach, that, time on Monday was like something that I look forward to kind of escape a little bit and to distract myself from the difficult things that I was going through. And whereas in the first part of my mission, when I was having those difficulties, I would immediately turn to the Lord in prayer or see how I can better focus on serving other people or serving my companion instead of having something else as a crutch to offload that stress. You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense?
Yeah. Wow. That's, I never thought about it that way, because as I am now recollecting my own mission, that's what it became for me. It was kind of like a crutch. In fact, I served when COVID happened, and we were allowed to call, in my mission at least, we were then allowed to call 3 times a week if we needed to, which is just crazy to think about. That could have been a time where we really, really dove deep into the scriptures, because if this was a few years ago and we weren't able to call home and COVID happened, what else would we be doing while stuck inside besides reading our scriptures, connecting with the Lord, connecting with our companion to make our teaching more powerful? But instead, I have missionaries who are calling, and this isn't the case anymore, but I'm just reflecting on my mission, and COVID was a hard time. And so calling a couple times a week was helpful, but now I'm realizing what connection with the Lord might I have been missing by making those phone calls.
Yeah.
So,
and look, I'll say this. For me personally, that first year was so much better for me than calling home every week after that, because as much as I tried to stay focused on only talking about the work that was going on and things that were happening, in the end, it was something that led to a little bit more distraction than allowed me to focus heavier on the work. And now, I don't want to come out here and be so like black and white and be like, it's a net negative on the success.
This is our daily cancellation of mission calling home.
No, because the first story that we covered is obviously missionary success is booming. It's booming. But there's something to be said about leaving behind the world and going out and fully focusing on serving God and preaching the gospel.
Keeping 2 feet in the mission field instead of 1 foot at home and 1 foot in the mission field.
Exactly.
That's how it was always explained to me.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, this is a net positive for them, right? But I've just talked to a lot of people that on P-Day, they're on the phone with their missionary the whole entire day. And they're just kind of talking about anything but missionary work. And I know for me, like, if I was out there right now and that's kind of what I was doing, it would be really distracting. It would be really distracting. And so I would just invite people, and I think with all of these new guidelines and policies and stuff around communication and whatnot, is seek to follow the Spirit, because if it is something that becomes a distraction for you, if you are a missionary or soon to be missionary, or if it's a distracting for your son or daughter that's on a mission, to follow the Spirit and do something that may be uncomfortable at first, and not having that weekly 4-hour FaceTime if it is a distraction, because ultimately consecrating yourself to the Lord's work at a time that is so exciting, and there's no other time in your entire life that you'll be able to do it 100% of the time, and that be the only thing that consumes your mind, how to serve other people and bring them closer to Jesus Christ. I think if you fully focus on that, miracles will happen.
Yeah.
And That's all I'll say. So my hot take is, I think it's so I guess my hot take is, if I was sending out my own son right now, I would highly encourage him to call home very infrequently and to focus on the work, because in my personal experience, that is what ultimately led me to lean on God more and to develop a more proximate relationship with him.
I think you just offended all moms out there who are sending a missionary out.
Exactly.
I'm just kidding.
So if you're offended by that, let me know in the comments. But anyways, for these first couple of episodes, we're going to be playing around with a few different segments, and your feedback is imperative so that we can create a space that you feel is bringing you closer to Jesus while keeping you updated on some things happening in the world.
And remember to avoid infusing yourself with preservatives, or else you'll look like this.
Stay away from those seed oils. But until next time, remember, if you're not looking at the world through a gospel lens, you're only getting half the story. God bless you.